The first time I heard David Goggins, he said something that changed my relationship with challenge and adversity forever. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. At first, this didn't make any sense to me. I mean, it almost sounds paradoxical, right? Comfort is something that we aspire to achieve, whereas discomfort is something that we tend to avoid at all costs. Comfort is described as a pleasant feeling and being free from pain. I thought more about what being comfortable actually means, and then I realised something. It's all around us. In the modern world, we make a huge effort to engineer comfort into our daily lives. From the moment we get up in the morning, to the things we do throughout the day, to when our heads hit the pillows at night. Comfort is there every step of the way. We have so much information, options, choices and luxuries literally at our fingertips, and they're all designed to make our lives easier. Whilst these tools and options serve a practical purpose and are useful up to a point, it's easy to see how the line between making life a little easier and creating and living in a comfort zone can be crossed. Now, at first glance, a comfort zone sounds great, right? I mean, who doesn't want to live in a zone of comfort where it's a non-threatening environment and you can feel good all the time? As counterintuitive as it may sound, a comfort zone is actually a place of stagnation and limbo. And it took me a long time to understand this. To understand why comfort zones are so dangerous, I use turtles. Turtles have hard shells which protect them from the outside world, and it'd be great if they could stay in these shells all the time to avoid the risk of being eaten. However, this is not possible for the turtle, because if they just stayed in their shell the whole time, they would have no food and they would have no opportunities to mate, and eventually the turtles would die out and their species would come to an end. It's only when the turtle takes a calculated risk to stick its head and limbs out of its shell that it's able to start moving and progress towards achieving its goals and objectives. I think turtles are a great metaphor for the danger of comfort zones for us as human beings. When I'm comfortable for too long in my own life, it always feels like something is missing, and I know in the back of my mind that I'm not progressing towards where I want to be. Whilst mindlessly scrolling or watching a best-selling drama might feel great in the moment, it always feels like I've left huge parts of me untapped and on the table. As odd as it sounds, when I look back on my own life, it was those hard, difficult and stretching moments where I was pushed to my absolute limit that I now sit here and look back on with pride and satisfaction. One of those moments was when I completed the David Goggins 4x4x48 challenge 2 years ago. At the time, I wanted to raise as much money as possible for my charity of choice, Parkinson's UK. And rather than doing a traditional event like a marathon or a half marathon, I wanted to do something a bit different to attract a bit more fundraising attention. The 4x4x48 challenge is simple. Run 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours straight. Sounds easy. At least I thought so when I first heard of it. Muscle fatigue, sleep deprivation, constantly changing mood, lighting and weather conditions, trying to think about your nutrition and maintaining a high level of willpower all combined together to create the ultimate cocktail of discomfort over the 48 hours. Because this challenge is over 2 days, you really do have to learn how to get comfortable being uncomfortable. I remember saying to myself at the end of the last run of the challenge 2 years ago, never again. It's for that reason that I've decided to step back inside the 4x4x48 challenge tunnel. Whilst I believe that you should regularly throw yourself into things that make you feel uneasy, I can't say that I'm fully comfortable with doing this. If I can get more comfortable being uncomfortable, I'll know that I'm on my way to being a better me. Here we go, it's 8 o'clock on Friday night and we're about to start the 4x4x48 challenge, the ultimate test of getting comfortable being uncomfortable. I'm joined by my brother Jack.
Hello.
And the discomfort starts now. Let's do this. Just completed the first mile in this first run, and wow, that was a shock to the system. Just come out of a nice warm house straight outside to the lovely British cold weather. I think that might be a nice way to set the tone for what lies ahead for this challenge across the weekend. And yes, I'm definitely feeling uncomfortable. But anyway, this is only mile 1 out of a long and winding road. Let's see what lies ahead. Running 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours means running on 13 separate occasions over 2 whole days. That's a lot of runs. Preparing your equipment before both the weekend and before each run itself can be the difference between tackling each 4 miles with confidence or feeling like you're steering a ship without sails and rudders. Make sure that you have multiple sports tops and bottoms for a variety of weathers and lighting conditions, a decent pair of running shoes and a head torch as an absolute minimum. Two runs down and we're now in the very early hours of the morning. I'm about to try and get my first lot of shut-eye over the course of the weekend. As you go through the challenge, it's very important that you try and get as much sleep as you can whenever you can, because if you're not careful, the effects of sleep deprivation and fatigue will creep up on you out of nowhere, speaking from experience. Quick tip, if you struggle to relax and fall asleep quickly after a run, I know I certainly do, try taking a hot shower, because contrary to popular belief, the body actually needs to cool down before it goes to sleep, and taking a hot shower really helps with this. And I know that I'm going to be taking a lot of them as the weekend wears on. Four runs in and it's now the next morning. Runs 3 and 4 were much tougher than runs 1 and 2, especially run 3 at 4 AM this morning, where I felt like a zombie pulling myself out of the sheets and I really struggled to get out of bed. Nevertheless, I did get up and I completed the run, so we're still in the race. I've just had a really nice breakfast and I'm feeling much more energised and positive about the challenge moving forward. I think with the 4x4x48 challenge, it's important to understand and accept that there are going to be many highs and lows on the journey throughout the 48 hours. It's important to capitalise on those positive moments when they arise, whether that's having something nice to eat, getting in a few hours of sleep, or even just chatting to some friends. It can make all the difference in the world, especially as you come to the later stages of the 4x4x48 challenge, where you are more sleep deprived and you have more muscle fatigue than at the start. So we're halfway through the challenge now and things are getting pretty tough. Definitely feeling that discomfort, but we're pretty lucky to be able to run across the lovely River Medway in Maidstone in Kent. Have a look at that. Very nice. And I think it's important to look for those beautiful moments in struggle, because at the end of the day we're all going to go through struggles whether we like it or not, and if we can find those good moments, the things that we can appreciate through the struggle, it's always a much better experience, and I think we can learn more from those struggles. What's nice about this challenge is that it gives you a lot of time to think. I started thinking about discomfort in my own life up to now. Although I know that by biting the bullet it will be good for me, I always find it hard to throw myself into uncomfortable situations. Whether that be speaking in public, rehearsing a song, giving a presentation, approaching a girl, trying to speak in a foreign language that I'm learning, or exploring a new place. I always find it so hard to start. Whilst I usually do muster up the courage to just do the uncomfortable thing, it sometimes takes me ages to do so, and this frustrates me. I want to just do these things without giving them a second's hesitation, but I seem to have this mental break which makes me stop and evaluate the situation more than is absolutely necessary. I think that this is something we can all relate to. We all daydream of being that cool protagonist in a movie who can tackle tough things without giving it a second's thought. I mean, come on, who hasn't wanted to be James Bond at some point in their life? I believe that the 4x4x48 challenge is a practical way to help reduce some of this dithering and indecisiveness associated with an uncomfortable action. Regardless of the time, weather, your mood, the state of your body, and whether you'll like it or not, you have to run 4 miles every 4 hours without fail, no excuses. If, after the challenge, we're able to then transfer some of this do or die mentality into our everyday lives, I believe that we can make big and meaningful changes. Running 52 miles means burning thousands of additional active calories on top of what your body burns just by keeping you alive. This means that you'll want to eat like a horse and drink like a fish, minus the alcohol, all weekend. And that's absolutely fine. Remember that, like a sports car, your body needs the proper fuel to function, so make sure to plan your nutrition in advance. As a rule of thumb, eat healthy carbs just before each run and recover with protein and fat afterwards.
It's now the early morning hours of the Sunday and I'm on the 9th consecutive 4 miler every 4 hours. I definitely think that this run is the hardest of them all, because by this point you're comfortably sleep deprived, you've got aching muscles, you maybe have had a few unpleasant experiences, and you've also not got the advantage of natural light to wake you up in the morning. You have just the darkness, as you can see, and when the alarm goes off and you've got to get yourself out of bed, you really do need to dig deep to break through that inner wall of resistance like a sheet of thin ice to make sure that you stay in the game. If you can get past this point in the challenge, that's a key moment, and I think you stand a very good chance of succeeding.
A huge difference between this 4x4x48 run and my first 2 years ago was the variety in the routes. In my initial effort, I ran the same route 13 times in a row, which left me feeling like Phil Connors in Groundhog Day. This time round, my brother and I planned 11 different routes in advance, which not only kept us on our toes, it added a new and nice layer to the weekend. I think the 4x4x48 challenge is like a roller coaster in that there are many twists, turns, highs and lows. However, the lows, whenever they're felt, should be identified and treated with caution. If you're not careful, it's easy to start slipping into the realm of negative thinking, and you may even start convincing yourself to throw in the towel and quit. So, it's of crucial importance that you establish and maintain a positive mindset throughout the weekend to see you through those testing moments.
And that is it, the 48 hours are complete and the challenge is a success. My legs feel like absolute jelly right now, I'm starving and I can't wait to go to bed. It's been a skyscraper effort this weekend, but I'm glad to have persevered to the end.
That was one of the longest weekends of my life, but challenge completed. With 52 miles clocked up, over 6,000 active calories burned, literally every nook and cranny of my local area explored, and a grand total of 6 hours sleep, I think it's fair to say that it's been a memorable experience. If you like data, pause the video here for a breakdown of each run across the weekend. Though I consider myself a positive and resilient person, there were numerous occasions over the past couple of days where I literally hated myself for having taken on the 4x4x48 again. With all the struggles gradually adding up over the course of the weekend, it can be easy to start having doubts and to start getting angry at yourself. But no matter how cold or tired I was, no matter how much my legs ached, and no matter how much I felt like giving up in the moment, I refused to give up, and I'm glad for it. I've learned a lot about myself this weekend. I'm not saying that I'm now going to dive into each and every uncomfortable experience in the future without a care in the world, but I do now have this challenge as a powerful reference for what I'm actually capable of. This is an interesting concept that David Goggins talks about all the time. The cookie jar. The cookie jar method is where you use your past achievements to motivate yourself in tough situations where you may be struggling, and it's by doing this that you then remind yourself of how badass you can actually be. In a way, I think this is how confidence is built, by doing tough things that push us to and beyond our limits so that we can grow and become more than we currently are. With so much time spent running in the past 48 hours, I've had a lot of time to think about and reflect upon how I view and approach uncomfortable situations in my own life. After having completed the 4x4x48 again, I now have a new cookie in my mental cookie jar to use when the going gets tough. In life, I think it's important that we make the effort to seek out and accomplish hard things so that we can build up our own mental cookie jar, so that we have as many cookies as possible to help us in our journeys to getting comfortable being uncomfortable.